Imagine a glamorous London theater, its lights dazzling, the crowd buzzing until a scream pierces the night and a star's secret turns deadly. Hercule Poirot, with his brilliant mind and iconic mustache, steps into the spotlight to unravel a murder that hides in plain sight, ready for a mystery that twists like a stage plot. Let's dive in. Welcome to the glittering world of 1930s London, where the stage is set for drama, deception, and a chilling crime. In Hercule Poirot and the star's fatal secret, we follow the legendary Belgian detective Hercule Poirot, known for his razor-sharp intellect and love of order, as he tackles a mystery that begins with a single shocking death.
Right.
Just any case, it's a puzzle wrapped in the glamour of theater life, where every smile hides a motive. If you're new to Poirot, picture a man who sees what others miss, solving crimes with logic in his little gray cells. This story, inspired by Agatha Christie's genius, kicks off with a night at the theater that no one will forget. Grab your popcorn, hit that like button, and let's step into the spotlight. It's a chilly evening in London, and the Grand Lyceum Theatre is alive with excitement. The star of the show, Clara Vayne, is dazzling audiences in The Crimson Veil, a play about love and betrayal. Poirot, invited by his friend Captain Hastings, sits in a plush box seat, his eyes scanning the crowd. He's not here for the play alone. Clara, a radiant actress with a mysterious past, has sent him a cryptic note. Monsieur Poirot, I fear for my life. Meet me after the show. No details, no names, just a plea that piques his curiosity. As the curtain rises, Clara's performance is electric, but Poirot notices her hands tremble during a quiet scene. Is it stage fright or something darker? He leans forward, his mustache twitching, sensing trouble brewing. The play ends with thunderous applause, but as the crowd files out, a scream echoes from backstage. Poirot and Hastings rush to Clara's dressing room, where they find her slumped over her vanity, a glass of champagne spilled on the floor. She's dead, her face pale, a faint scent of almonds in the air. Cyanide, Poirot deduces. The room is a chaos of costumes and roses, but one detail stands out. A torn playbill clutched in her hand, with the word secret scrawled in red ink. Poirot's gray cells hum murder, not accident, and the killer is likely still near. He seals the room, calling for Inspector Japp, his old friend from Scotland Yard, to secure the scene. The theater buzzes with whispers as actors and crew are questioned. But no one saw anything, or so they claim. Let's meet the key players in this drama. There's Victor Lyle, the charming director, who seems to calm for a man who's lost. His star. Next is Evelyn Marsh, Clara's understudy, her eyes red from crying or guilt. Then there's Rupert Kane, a dashing leading man who is Clara's lover, his jaw tight with secrets. And don't overlook Mrs. Agnes Grey, the wardrobe. Mistress, the Grand Lyceum Theatre is silent now, its glamour dimmed by Clara Vayne's murder. Hercule Poirot, his mustache perfectly groomed, stands in the lounge where the cast and crew are gathered, their faces a mix of fear and suspicion. The scent of cyanide lingers in his mind, along with the torn playbill marked secret and the mysterious pearl earring found in Clara's dressing room. Her locked diary, still unopened, is a tantalizing clue, but its key is missing. Inspector Japp paces frustrated by the lack of witnesses, while Captain Hastings whispers theories about jealous lovers. Poirot, however, knows the truth lies in Clara's past she hinted at in her cryptic note to him. In this chapter, we dive into a scandal that shakes the theater, as Poirot uncovers secrets that point to a motive for murder. Let's follow his little gray cells as they start to unravel the lies. Poirot begins by questioning the key suspects, his polite demeanor masking a razor-sharp mind. Victor Lyle, the director, claims he was in his office during the murder. But Poirot notices his polished shoes to clean for a man who supposedly rushed backstage. Victor says Clara was a dream to work with, but his smile is tight, and Poirot recalls a case in Paris where a director's forced grin hid embezzlement. Evelyn Marsh, the understudy, insists she was in the wings, preparing for her next role. But her hands twist her scarf when Poirot mentions the pearl earring. Could it be hers? Rupert Kane, Clara's lover, admits to a heated argument with her last night, but swears it was about artistic differences. His charm feels rehearsed, like a conman Poirot once caught in Antwerp who smiled too much. Mrs. Agnes Grey, the wardrobe mistress, mutters about Clara's secrets, her needle stabbing fabric with unusual force. Each suspect is a piece of the puzzle, and Poirot is assembling it with care. To dig deeper, Poirot visits Clara's dressing room again, with Jap's permission. The torn playbill, now in an evidence bag, has a faint lipstick smudge red, like Evelyn's shade. He examines the diary, its lock sturdy, and notices a scratch mark, as if someone tried to force it open. Under the vanity, he finds a crumpled note in Clara's handwriting. Tell no one about Paris. Paris. Poirot's mind races. He recalls a scandal in the French theater world, where a young actress fled after a mysterious affair. Could Clara have been that actress? He pockets the note, keeping it from Jap for now, knowing it's a thread to pull. The pearl earring, he suspects, belongs to someone close to Clara, perhaps Evelyn, who stood to gain from her death. Poirot's method is meticulous. He once solved a theft by tracing a single thread to a tailor's shop. Here, the note and earring are his threads. Poirot approaches Mrs. Grey, who's stitching a costume in the lounge. With his charming smile, he asks about Clara's habits. Mrs. Grey, flustered, reveals Clara often spoke of a dark time in Paris, where she crossed someone powerful. She was scared, monsieur, Mrs. Grey says, her needle pausing. Said someone from her past was here. Poirot presses gently, asking about the earring. Mrs. Grey hesitates, then admits seeing Evelyn drop one like it last week. A clue, but not proof. Poirot thanks her, noting her trembling hands, a sign of fear, like a maid in a Brussels case who knew too much. He suspects Mrs. Grey knows more than she's saying, perhaps about the diary's contents, or the Paris scandal. Next, Poirot corners Evelyn in the props room, where she's sorting wigs. He mentions the earring casually, watching her reaction. Her face pales and she claims it's not hers, but her fingers fidget with a wig, betraying nerves. Poirot doesn't push. He knows pressure makes suspects clam up. Instead, he asks about Clara's mood before the show. Evelyn admits Clara was on edge, arguing with Rupert about a letter she received. A letter. This is new. Poirot recalls a London case where a letter led to a blackmailer. Could Clara's note to him be linked? He thanks Evelyn, his polite bow hiding his growing suspicion. Evelyn's ambition to replace Clara is clear, but is she a killer? At the theater's bar, Poirot finds Rupert nursing a whiskey. With a disarming chuckle, Poirot asks about the argument. Rupert admits Clara received a threatening letter days ago, warning her to keep quiet about Paris. He claims he urged her to go to the police, but she refused, fearing exposure. Poirot notes Rupert's clenched jaw, a sign of guilt, like a gambler he once caught hiding debts. Was Rupert protecting Clara or silencing her? Poirot also learns Victor was seen near Clara's dressing room before the show, despite his alibi. The director's clean shoes and tidy desk nag at Poirot perfect. Too staged. Poirot's approach is like a painter's, adding strokes to a canvas of truth. He doesn't accuse, he observes, letting suspects reveal themselves. For example, Evelyn's fidgeting and Rupert's tension are tells, and a shopkeeper's stammer that once led Poirot to stolen jewels. If you're trying to uncover a truth, try this. Ask simple questions, watch body language, and let silence do the work. A twitch or a glance can betray more than a confession. Here Poirot's building a picture. Clara's Paris past, a threatening letter, and an earring point to a motive tied to secrets, not just jealousy. As the night deepens, Poirot sits with Hastings, sharing a theory. Clara's note to him, the playbill's secret. And the Paris clue suggests she was hiding a scandal, perhaps an affair or a crime that someone wanted buried. The diary likely holds the truth, but without the key, it's a locked box. Poirot suspects the killer is among the suspects, watching his every move. The theater feels like a stage, and Poirot is directing the next act. In Chapter 3, a break-in, the Grand Lyceum Theater is locked down, but the tension among the cast is electric. Hercule Poirot, his eyes sharp beneath his polished hat, knows Clara Vayne's murder is tied to her mysterious Paris past. Hinted at by the crumpled note, the pearl earring, and the locked diary still eluding him. The threatening letter Rupert mentioned and Mrs. Grey's talk of a powerful figure from Clara's history have set Poirot's little grey cells buzzing. The killer is close, hiding among the suspects: Victor Lyle, Evelyn Marsh, Rupert Kane, or Mrs. Agnes Grey. In this chapter, daring break-in at the theater uncovers a new clue, pulling Poirot closer to the diary's secrets and revealing a dangerous player in this deadly drama. Let's follow him through the darkened stage, where every shadow hides a truth. It's past midnight when Poirot, unable to sleep, turns to the theater with Inspector Japp's reluctant approval. The building is eerie, its chandeliers dim, the stage silent. Poirot heads to Clara's dressing room, hoping to find the diary's key. As he nears, he hears a faint crash glass breaking backstage. He moves swiftly, his small frame silent, and spots a figure rifling through Clara's vanity. It's Victor Lyle, his calm facade gone, his hands shaking as he searches drawers. Poirot steps into the light, his voice soft but firm. "Monsieur Lyle, you are looking for something, non?" Victor freezes, stammering that he lost a script. Poirot's eyes narrow. Victor's jacket is torn, and a shard of glass glints on his sleeve. The window behind the vanity is shattered, suggesting a staged break-in. Poirot recalls a case in Ostend where a broken window hid a thief's true motive. Victor's no thief, but he's hiding something. Japp arrives, alerted by a night watchman, and questions Victor. The director claims he was checking props, but Poirot points out the glass on his sleeve, contradicting his story. Victor's face reddens, and he admits he was looking for Clara's diary, believing it held sensitive notes about the play's funding. Poirot doesn't buy it. Victor's trembling hands mirror a forger he once caught, nervous under scrutiny. Japp searches Victor's pockets, finding a small key, but it doesn't fit the diary's lock. Poirot keeps this clue quiet, suspecting Victor knows more about Clara's Paris scandal. The director is detained, but Poirot senses he's a pawn, not the mastermind. Back in the lounge, Poirot gathers the others, using the break-in to stir reactions. He casually mentions the diary, watching closely. Evelyn gasps, her hand flying. To her earwear, a single pearl earring dangles, matching the one found in Clara's room. Rupert shifts uncomfortably, his eyes on the floor, while Mrs. Grey drops her sewing, her face pale. Poirot's tactic is deliberate, like when he flushed out a smuggler in Calais by mentioning a missing cargo. Here Evelyn's earring, and Mrs. Grey's panicker tells. He asks Evelyn about her earring, and she claims she lost its pair weeks ago, but her voice wavers. Poirot smiles, filing it away her lie as a crack in her armor. Poirot turns to Mrs. Grey, asking about Clara's Paris days. The wardrobe mistress, her needle still? Whispers that Clara once mentioned a man in Paris, a theater magnate named Henri Dubois, who ruined her. Clara fled to London, changing her name, but Mrs. Grey heard rumors Dubois was in England recently. Poirot's mind clicks Henri Dubois, a name tied to a Paris scandal involving blackmail and a missing actress. Could he be the powerful figure Clara feared? Mrs. Grey adds that Clara received a letter last month postmarked Paris, which made her cry. Poirot suspects it's the threatening letter Rupert mentioned. Now missing. Mrs. Grey's candor surprises him. She's scared. Like a witness in a Brussels case who spilled secrets to avoid danger. To test Rupert, Poirot visits him in his dressing room where he's packing props. Poirot mentions Henri Dubois, watching Rupert's reaction. The actor's hand freezes on a costume sword, and he mutters, "Clara never mentioned him." But his eyes dart to a locked trunk, betraying interest. Poirot doesn't press. He knows pushing too hard makes suspects silent, like a gambler. He once interrogated who clammed up under pressure. Instead, he asks about the letter. Rupert admits seeing it in Clara's hand, its envelope marked with a red wax seal. A seal. Poirot recalls a case where a sealed letter hid a blackmail demand. This could be key. He thanks Rupert, noting his sweaty palms a sign of guilt or fear. Poirot's method is surgical, cutting through lies with precision. He's like a chess player anticipating moves. Evelyn's earring, Victor's break-in, and Mrs. Grey's story about Dubois form a pattern. A scandal from Paris followed Clara to her death. The diary, Poirot bets, holds proof, and the missing letter with the red seal is its companion. If you're solving a mystery, try Poirot's trick. Stir the pot with a specific detail, like a name, and watch who flinches. A drop stitch or a frozen hand, like Mrs. Grey's or Rupert's, reveals more than words as dawn breaks. Poirot learns from Jap that Henri Dubois was spotted in London last week, staying at a nearby hotel. The theater's manager confirms Dubois visited the Lyceum, asking about Clara. Poirot's gray cells hum this man as a shadow behind the murder. But is he the killer, or did one of the suspects act for him? The break-in suggests someone Victor perhaps wanted the diary to protect Dubois or themselves. Poirot requests Jap to search for the letter with the red seal, suspecting it's hidden in the theater. The cast is restless, and Poirot knows the killer is feeling the pressure. In Chapter 4, the Grand Lyceum Theatre remains a fortress of secrets. Staged now a crime scene where Hercule Poirot's little gray cells are working overtime. Clara Vayne's murder, marked by cyanide and a cryptic playbill scrawled with secret, points to a scandal from her Paris past, tied to the shadowy theater magnate Henri Dubois. The locked diary, the pearl earring, and Victor Lyle's suspicious break-in have tightened the web around suspects. Victor, the smooth-talking director. Evelyn Marsh, the ambitious understudy. Rupert Kane, Clara's secretive lover. And Mrs. Agnes Grey, the wardrobe mistress who knows too much. The threatening letter with a red wax seal, mentioned by Rupert, is still missing, but Poirot senses it holds the key to Clara's fear. In this chapter, a surprise visitor storms into the theater, and Poirot uncovers the red-sealed letter, revealing a motive that shakes the case to its core. Let's follow Poirot through the Lyceum's velvet curtains, where a new player and a hidden truth push him closer to the killer. It's mid-morning. The theater's lounge is a hive of nervous energy. Inspector Jap, his face grim, oversees the cast and crew, who are forbidden to leave until the investigation progresses. Poirot, impeccable in his suit, sips a tisane, his eyes scanning the room. Victor Lyle, released after questioning, sits stiffly, his torn jacket a silent accusation of his break-in. Evelyn Marsh fidgets with her single pearl earring, her gaze darting to Poirot as if fearing his next question. Rupert Kane paces near the bar, his charm replaced by a scowl. Mrs. Grey stitches a costume with jerky movements, her lips pressed thin. Captain Hastings, ever loyal, whispers to Poirot about Dubois, the Paris magnate spotted in London. Poirot nods, his mind on the red-sealed letter. Its wax seal a clue as distinctive as a monogrammed handkerchief he once used to catch a forger in Bruges. The theater doors burst open, and a tall, impeccably dressed man strides in, his silver hair and sharp features commanding attention. He introduces himself as Henri Dubois, his French accent thick, his eyes cold. Jap bristles, but Poirot greets him with a polite bow, masking his excitement. Dubois demands to know why he's been summoned, claiming he's merely a theater investor visiting London. Poirot notes his polished cane, engraved with a red crest matching the wax seal Rupert described. "Monsieur Dubois," Poirot says smoothly. "You knew Mademoiselle Vayne, Nain?" Dubois's jaw tightens, and he admits meeting Clara years ago in Paris, but insists their connection was professional. Poirot's gray cells hum. Dubois's presence is no coincidence, and his cane's crest is a thread to the letter. Poirot decides to stir the pot, a tactic he mastered in a Brussels case where a casual remark flushed out a smuggler. He gathers the suspects in the auditorium, announcing that Clara's diary may reveal her Paris secrets. Evelyn gasps, her hand clutching her earring, while Rupert's pacing stops abruptly. Victor adjusts his tie, his eyes flickering to Dubois, who remains stone-faced. Mrs. Grey drops her needle, muttering about cursed secrets. Poirot watches their reactions, knowing fear betrays guilt. He recalls a London case where a nervous glance led to a pickpocket here. Evelyn's earring and Victor's glance at Dubois are clues piling up. He asks Dubois about his last meeting. With Clara, the magnate claims it was a business discussion about funding the Crimson Veil. But his fingers grip his cane too tightly, Poirot notes. While Jap questions Dubois, Poirot slips backstage, determined to find the red-sealed letter. He searches the props room, where Rupert was last seen with his locked trunk. The trunk's lock is scratched, like Clara's diary, suggesting someone tried to force it. Poirot, with Hastings's help, pries it open, revealing a stack of script sand, an envelope with a red wax seal hidden beneath. His heart races as he opens it, careful not to tear the seal. The letter in Clara's handwriting reads, "Henri, you can't silence me forever. I know what you did in Paris, and I'll tell if you come near me." It's dated a week before her death, and a postscript adds, "Rupert knows too." Poirot's mind clicks. Clara was blackmailing Dubois, and Rupert was involved. This explains her fear and the note to Poirot. He tucks the letter into his pocket, knowing it's dynamite, back in the lounge. Poirot confronts Rupert privately, his tone gentle but probing. "Monsieur Kane, you knew of Mademoiselle Vayne's letter to Dubois, oui?" Rupert's face pales, and he admits Clara confided in him about a Paris scandal. Dubois had framed her for stealing theater funds, forcing her to flee. She kept evidence, likely in the diary, and threatened to expose him. Rupert swears he urged her to stay quiet. Fearing Dubois's power, Poirot notes his sweaty brow like a card sharp he once caught in Monte Carlo. Is Rupert a protector or a conspirator? Poirot doesn't press, letting Rupert stew. Knowing panic reveals truth, Poirot then approaches Evelyn, mentioning the earring again. Her story shifts. She now claims she lost the earring in Clara's dressing room during a costume fitting. Poirot smiles, but his eyes are sharp. Her lie is crumbling like a liar in a Vienna case who changed her story under gentle pressure. He suspects Evelyn dropped the earring during a struggle or a visit to poison Clara's champagne. To test Victor, Poirot asks about his funding talks with Dubois. Victor stammers, claiming they were routine, but his clean shoes from the break-in nag at Poirot a stage a theft unless hiding something bigger. Mrs. Grey, overhearing, whispers to Poirot that she saw Victor and Dubois arguing in the alley days ago, their voices low but angry. Poirot thanks her, noting her trembling hands. She's scared perhaps of Dubois. Let's unpack Poirot's brilliance. He's a maestro, conducting suspects to reveal their discord. The red-sealed letter is his crescendo, proving Clara's blackmail and Dubois's motive. By mentioning the diary, he sparked reactions like when he flushed out a thief. The Grand Lyceum Theatre buzzes with tension, its velvet curtains hiding a web of lies that Hercule Poirot is determined to unravel. Clara Vayne's murder, marked by cyanide and a cryptic playbill, points to a Paris scandal involving theater. Magnate Henri Dubois, whose red-sealed letter revealed Clara's blackmail attempt. The locked diary, still unopened. The pearl earring found in Clara's dressing room keeps suspects Victor Lyle, Evelyn Marsh, Rupert Kane, and Mrs. Agnes Grey. Scrutiny. Victor's break-in, Evelyn's shaky alibi, Rupert's knowledge of the letter, and Mrs. Grey's nervous whispers all hint at a conspiracy. With Dubois now in the mix, his cyanide vial and evasive answers raise Poirot's suspicions. In Chapter 5, a shocking confession shifts the spotlight, and a clue hidden in Clara's costume pulls Poirot closer to the killer. Let's follow him through the theater's backstage maze, where a single thread could unravel the truth. Morning light filters through the Lyceum's dusty windows as Poirot gathers the suspects in the auditorium, his polished shoes clicking on the wooden floor. Inspector Jap, frustrated by the lack of hard evidence, watches as Poirot, with his trademark calm, announces he's close to unlocking Clara's diary. It's a calculated move, like when he flushed out a smuggler in Antwerp by hinting at a hidden ledger. Evelyn Marsh's eyes widen, her fingers brushing her lone pearl earring, while Rupert Kane grips the armrest, his knuckles white. Victor Lyle, still shaken from his break-in, adjusts his tie, avoiding Dubois's cold stare. Mrs. Grey, sewing in the corner, drops her thread, her face ashen. Poirot's gray cells hum their reactions, confirm the diary's importance. But who fears it most? Poirot visits the wardrobe room, where Mrs. Grey is sorting costumes from the crimson veil. He asks to see Clara's final costume. Oh, a crimson gown worn during her last scene. Yes. As Mrs. Grey lifts it from the rack, Poirot notices a faint tear at the hem, revealing a hidden pocket. Inside, he finds a tiny keys maul, ornate, and a perfect fit for the diary's lock. His heart quickens. This is no coincidence. He recalls a case in Brussels where a hidden pocket in a coat led to a stolen diamond. Small hiding places hold big secrets. Mrs. Grey, startled, claims she never saw the pocket, but her trembling hands betray her. Poirot doesn't confront her yet. Instead, he pockets the key, knowing it's a prize the killer wants. Back in the lounge, Poirot decides to test the waters. He approaches Evelyn, casually mentioning the costume's hidden pocket. Her face drains of color, and she blurts, "I didn't touch her costume, I swear." Her outburst is too quick, like a thief in a London case who confessed when Poirot mentioned a missing watch. Evelyn, recovering, says she was in Clara's dressing room for a fitting but left before the show. Poirot notes her shaking voice. She's hiding something, perhaps the moment she dropped her earring. He thanks her, his smile disarming, but his mind catalogues her panic as a sign of guilt, or at least involvement. Poirot then corners Rupert near the stage, where he's rehearsing lines to distract himself. Poirot mentions the red-sealed letter. Watching Rupert's reaction, the actor's hands clench, and he confesses. "Clara told me everything. Dubois framed her in Paris for theft, ruined her career. She had proof in her diary, and I told her to use it." His voice cracks, admitting he feared Dubois's wrath, but loved Clara too much to betray her. Poirot nods, recalling a case in Ostend where a lover's loyalty hid a crime. Rupert's confession feels genuine, but his knowledge of the diary makes him a target. Was he protecting Clara or silencing her to save himself? Next, Poirot approaches Victor, who's reviewing scripts in his office. Poirot mentions Dubois's cyanide vial, watching Victor's eyes flicker to a locked drawer. "Monsieur Lyle," Poirot says, "your break-in suggests you sought the diary non?" Victor stammers, claiming he only wanted to protect the theater's reputation. But his sweaty palms remind Poirot of a forger caught in Lisbon. Victor's hiding a motive, perhaps tied to Dubois's funding. Poirot doesn't push. He knows Victor's nerves will betray him soon. He also learns from Jap that Dubois's cyanide vial was recently purchased, not from a theater prop, suggesting premeditation. But is Dubois the killer, or a convenient scapegoat? Poirot's method is like a sculptor chiseling away at stone. Each question reveals more of the truth. The costume's key is a breakthrough, but Evelyn's outburst and Rupert's confession add layers. If you're unraveling a mystery, try Poirot's tactic. Plant a specific detail, like the hidden pocket, and watch who cracks. Evelyn's panic, Rupert's candor, and Victor's nerves are pieces of the puzzle. Mrs. Grey's reaction to the key, though, nags at Poirot. She knows more than she said. Like a witness in a Calais case who hid a killer's identity out of fear. As evening falls, Poirot slips into Clara's dressing room to test the key. The diary opens, revealing pages of Clara's elegant script. It details her Paris days. Dubois, her mentor, framed her for stealing theater funds to cover his own debts. She fled, but kept evidence, a signed confession from a stagehand, hidden in the diary. Clara wrote of receiving Dubois's threatening letter, vowing to expose him unless he paid her. The final entry, dated the day of her death, reads, "Someone close betrayed me. I fear it's too late." Rose's pulse races. This confirms blackmail, but who betrayed her? The stagehand's confession is missing, likely taken by the killer. Suddenly, Poirot hears a creak backstage. He hides behind a curtain, his small frame blending into the shadows. Mrs. Grey enters, her face pale, searching the vanity. She mutters, "It has to be here," her hands frantic. Poirot steps out, startling her. "Madame Grey, you seek the diary's contents?" "Oui," she gasps, then collapses into a chair, confessing she knew about Clara's blackmail and saw Evelyn near the champagne bottle before the show. She didn't speak earlier, fearing Dubois's reach. Poirot reassures her, but her words point to Evelyn, as the poisoner a scapegoat. The diaries, revelations, and Mrs. Grey's confession shift the case. Evelyn's presence at the champagne, her earring, and her panic make her a prime suspect. The Grand Lyceum Theatre, its opulent chandeliers, now dim, feels like a labyrinth of secrets as Hercule Poirot navigates the aftermath of Clara Vayne's murder. The cyanide-laced champagne, the cryptic playbill marked secret, and the pearl earring have pointed to a tangled web of motives tied to a Paris scandal involving theater magnate Henri Dubois. The diary, finally unlocked with the key from Clara's costume, revealed her blackmail attempt against Dubois, who framed her for theft years ago. Mrs. Agnes Grey's confession that she saw Evelyn Marsh near the champagne bottle, combined with Evelyn's nervous reaction to the pearl earring, makes her a prime suspect. But Victor Lyle's break-in and Rupert Kane's knowledge of Clara's secrets keep them in Poirot's sights. The missing stagehand's confession, referenced in the diary, is the key to proving Dubois's crime and Clara's murder. In Chapter 6, a late-night search uncovers this hidden confession, leading to a dangerous confrontation that tests Poirot's cunning. Let's follow his little gray cells through the theater's shadowy corners, where the truth is tantalizingly close. The night is deep. The theater's silence broken only by the creak of floorboards as Poirot, with Captain Hastings at his side, prowls backstage. Inspector Japp has retired to his hotel, leaving Poirot to pursue his hunch that the stagehand's confession is hidden in the Lyceum. The diary's final entry, Clara's fear of betrayal by someone close, nags at him, echoing a case in Vienna where a betrayed confidant led to a killer's downfall. Poirot's eyes, sharp beneath his polished hat, scan the props room, where Rupert's locked trunk yielded the red-sealed letter. He suspects the confession, likely a single page, is concealed where Clara could access it, but the killer could not. His mind drifts to a Brussels case where a hidden document was sewn into a curtain. Perhaps the stage offers a similar hiding place. Poirot heads to the stage, where the crimson veil set looms, a mock Parisian apartment, complete with velvet drapes and a faux fireplace. He examines the fireplace, its bricks suspiciously loose. With a gentle tug, he dislodges one, revealing a folded paper tucked inside. His pulse quickens as he unfolds it, a signed confession from Pierre Leclerc, a Paris stagehand, dated 1929. It states, Dubois paid him to plant stolen funds in Clara's dressing room, framing her for theft to cover Dubois's debts. Clara kept this proof, threatening to expose Dubois unless he paid her. The confession names Rupert as a witness to Dubois's threats, explaining why Clara trusted him. Poirot tucks the paper into his pocket, his gray cells humming. This is the motive for her murder, but who acted on it? As Poirot replaces the brick, a shadow moves behind the curtain. He signals Hastings to stay quiet, his small frame tense but composed. A figure emerges, Evelyn Marsh, her face pale, a prop dagger in her hand. You found it, didn't you? She whispers, her voice shaking. Poirot, calm as ever, replies, Mademoiselle, a dagger is no match for the truth, Nan. Her eyes darting to the fireplace. She confesses she knew about Clara's blackmail, but swears she didn't kill her. She was in the dressing room, she admits, to steal the diary, hoping to replace Clara as the star. The earring fell during her search, and she panicked, leaving the champagne untouched. Poirot notes her trembling hands, like a thief in a Lisbon. Casu confessed under gentle pressure. Is Evelyn guilty, or merely ambitious? Before Poirot can probe further, footsteps echo. Rupert Kane appears, his face furious. Evelyn, you fool. He snaps, revealing he followed her, suspecting her involvement. He turns to Poirot, his voice breaking. I loved Clara, monsieur. I knew about the confession, but I told her to hide it, not use it. Dubois is dangerous. Poirot's eyes narrow. Rupert's passion feels genuine, but his timing is suspicious, like a lover in a Calais case who hid his own guilt behind devotion. Poirot diffuses the tension, suggesting they return to the lounge, knowing a confrontation here risks the evidence. Evelyn drops the dagger, her bravado crumbling, and follows, but Poirot senses she's not the mastermind. In the lounge, Poirot keeps the confession hidden, testing the suspects. He mentions a document found in the theater, watching their faces. Victor Lyle, sipping coffee, spills it, his eyes flicking to Dubois, sits stone-faced in a corner. Mrs. Grey gasps, her needle stabbing her finger, while Henri Dubois adjusts his cane, his crest glinting. Poirot's tactic is deliberate, like when he flushed out a smuggler in a stand by hinting at a hidden cargo. Victor's spill and Mrs. Grey's panic are tells. But Dubois's calm is too perfect, like a forger Poirot caught who feigned innocence. He asks Dubois about Pierre Leclerc. The magnate claims Leclerc was a disgruntled employee, but his grip on the cane tightens, betraying nerves. Poirot files this away. Dubois knows more than he admits. Poirot's method is a dance, each step calculated to provoke. The confession is his trump card, but he needs the killer to make a move. He recalls a case in Monte Carlo where a planted clue led a gambler to betray himself here. Mentioning the document has the same effect. If you're solving a puzzle, try this. Hint at what you know and watch who panics. A spill, a gasp, or a tightened grip like Victor's or Dubois's can reveal guilt. Poirot suspects Evelyn acted out of ambition, Rupert out of love. But Victor or Dubois may have orchestrated the murder to protect the Paris secret as dawn breaks. Poirot learns from Jap that Pierre Leclerc died years ago, likely silenced by Dubois. The confession's authenticity is confirmed by a handwriting expert, strengthening the case. But the killer's identity remains elusive. Evelyn's presence at the champagne, Victor's break-in, and Rupert's knowledge all point to complicity. But Mrs. Grey's fear suggests she's hiding a final piece. Poirot decides to keep the confession secret, knowing the killer will strike to reclaim it. In Chapter 7, a desperate act in the theater's basement traps Poirot, and a hidden witness reveals a shocking truth. Who's protecting Dubois, and what's Mrs. Grey hiding? Keep watching to see Poirot outwit a killer. Drop a comment, who do you think holds the final clue? Like and subscribe to follow the chase. The Grand Lyceum Theater, its grandeur now a facade for danger, hums with the weight of Clara Vayne's murder. Hercule Poirot, clutching the stagehand's confession that ties Henri Dubois to a Paris scandal, knows the killer is among Victor Lyle, Evelyn Marsh, Rupert Kane, or Mrs. Agnes Grey. The diary's revelations. Evelyn's dropped earring, Victor's break-in, and Rupert's love for Clara paint a picture of betrayal. But Mrs. Grey's nervous whispers hint at a deeper truth. The red-sealed letter and Pierre Leclerc's confession confirm Clara was blackmailing Dubois, who framed her years ago. With the killer feeling the pressure, Poirot senses a desperate move is coming. In Chapter 7, a trap in the theater's basement puts Poirot in peril, and a hidden witness unveils a shocking truth that shifts the case. Let's descend into the Lyceum's underbelly, where Poirot's grey cells face their greatest test yet. The theater is quiet as noon approaches, the cast confined to the lounge under Jap's watchful eye. Poirot, his suit pristine despite the late hour, confides in Captain Hastings that the confession is the key to flushing out the killer. He suspects Mrs. Grey, whose fear has grown since mentioning Evelyn's presence near the champagne, knows more. Her trembling hands remind him of a witness in a Brussels case who hid a murderer's identity out of terror. Poirot decides to search the theater's basement, where old props and costumes are stored, hoping to find the missing piece, perhaps the threatening letter's envelope, or another clue Clara hid. He tells Jap he's checking lighting equipment, keeping his true purpose secret to avoid tipping off the killer. The basement is a maze of dusty crates, cobwebbed chandeliers, and forgotten set pieces from past plays. Poirot, his flashlight, cutting through the gloom, navigates carefully, his senses sharp. He recalls a case in Lisbon where a basement trapdoor hid stolen art. Basements, he knows, are perfect for secrets. Near a pile of costumes, he finds a locked box marked CV. Clara Vayne. His heart races. This could hold the red-sealed letter's envelope or another clue. As he pries it open, revealing a bundle of letters, a creak echoes behind him. Before he can turn, a heavy prop falls, narrowly missing him. Poirot ducks, his agility surprising for his age, and spots a figure retreating into the shadows. Victor Lyle, his face pale, a wrench in his hand. Poirot, unruffled, calls out, "Monsieur Lyle, your aim is poor, Nan." Victor freezes, dropping the wrench, stammers that he was fixing a prop. Poirot's eyes narrow. Victor's torn jacket from the break-in is now smudged with basement dust. In his panic mirrors a thief caught in a Paris alley. Jap, alerted by the noise, storms in, cuffing Victor. Poirot examines the box, finding the red-sealed envelope, empty but stained with champagne residue. This confirms the letter was near Clara's glass, likely handled by the killer. Victor's attempt to trap Poirot suggests he's protecting someone nor himself. Poirot recalls a case in Vienna where a staged accident hit a murder attempt. Victor's move feels similar. Back in the lounge, Poirot uses the incident to unsettle the suspects. He announces the basement find, watching their faces. Evelyn clutches her earring, her eyes wide with fear. Rupert, pacing, mutters about cursed secrets, while Mrs. Grey drops her sewing basket, spilling needles. Henri Dubois, sipping tea, remains calm, but his cane taps rhythmically. A nervous tick, Poirot notes, like a smuggler's fidget in Ostend. Poirot asks Mrs. Grey about the basement, knowing she's been avoiding it. She stammers, claiming she stores costumes there, but hasn't visited in weeks. Her lie is obvious. Her apron has fresh basement dust, matching Victor's jacket. Poirot doesn't confront her. He knows she's close to breaking, like a witness in a Calais case who confessed under gentle pressure. Poirot pulls Mrs. Grey aside, his tone kind but firm. "Madame, you saw more than Evelyn near the champagne? Oui." Tears well in her eyes. She confesses. She saw Victor pouring something into Clara's glass before the show, thinking it was sugar syrup for her nerves. She didn't speak, fearing Victor's temper and Dubois's influence. Also admits finding the red-sealed envelope in the basement last week, hiding it to protect Clara's memory. Poirot nods, his gray cells connecting dots. Victor's act points to him as the poisoner. But Mrs. Grey's fear suggests Dubois orchestrated it. Her confession is a breakthrough, like a maid's testimony in a London case that exposed a poisoner. 2. Test Rupert. Poirot visits him in the props room, mentioning the envelope. Rupert's face crumples, and he admits he saw Victor arguing with Dubois about cleaning up Clara's mess. He didn't tell Poirot earlier, fearing for his own safety. Rupert's love for Clara seems genuine, but his silence makes him complicit, like a lover in a Monte Carlo case who hid a crime for loyalty. Poirot thanks him, noting his trembling hand's fear, not guilt. Evelyn, meanwhile, approaches Poirot, her voice shaking, insisting she only wanted Clara's role, not her life. Her earring, she claims, fell during a jealous argument, not a murder. Poirot smiles, but her panic mirrors a thief's in a Brussels case, innocent or not. She's entangled. Poirot's brilliance shines here. He's a chess master, moving pieces to expose the king. The basement trap and Mrs. Grey's confession confirm Victor's role, but Dubois's calm suggests he's the puppet master. If you're unraveling a secret, try Poirot's method. Corner a weak link, like Mrs. Grey, with kindness, and let their fear spill the truth. A dropped needle or a dusty apron, like Mrs. Grey's, can betray more than words. The confession, envelope, and Victor's act point to a murder orchestrated to silence Clara's blackmail. But Poirot needs proof linking Dubois directly. As night falls, Jap confirms the champagne residue on the envelope matches the cyanide in Clara's glass. Poirot suspects Victor hid the envelope after poisoning Clara, but Dubois's cyanide vial suggests he supplied the poison. The diary's missing. Stagehand confession now in Poirot's pocket is safe, but he knows the killer will strike again to reclaim it. The theater feels like a tightening trap, with Mrs. Grey's testimony and Victor's desperation pointing to a larger plot. In Chapter 8, a confrontation in the auditorium reveals a hidden alliance, and Poirot uncovers the Grand Lyceum Theatre, its gilded elegance now a backdrop for treachery, hums with the weight of Clara Vayne's murder. Hercule Poirot, his little gray cells ablaze, holds the stagehand's confession that ties theater magnate Henri Dubois to a Paris scandal where he framed Clara for theft to cover his debts. The diary's revelations, the pearl earring, Victor Lyle's break-in. Mrs. Agnes Grey's testimony about Victor poisoning Clara's champagne and Rupert Kane's conflicted loyalty paint a vivid picture of betrayal. Evelyn Marsh's ambition and dropped earring make her a suspect. But Dubois's cyanide vial and calm demeanor suggest he's the mastermind. The red-sealed letter and its envelope, stained with champagne, confirm the murder was meant to silence. Clara's blackmail. After surviving a trap in the basement, Poirot knows the killer is desperate. In Chapter 8, a tense confrontation in the auditorium exposes a hidden alliance, and Poirot uncovers the diary's final secret, bringing him face to face with the truth. Let's step onto the stage, where Poirot orchestrates a showdown under the spotlight. The afternoon sun casts long shadows through the Lyceum's auditorium, where the cast and crew are gathered, their nerves frayed under Inspector Japp's scrutiny. Poirot, his suit impeccable, stands near the stagehand's confession hidden in his pocket. Captain Hastings, fidgeting beside him, whispers theories about Dubois, but Poirot's eyes are on the suspects. Victor Lyle, his torn jacket, dusty from the basement. Evelyn Marsh, clutching her single pearl earring. Rupert Kane, pacing with a haunted look. And Mrs. Grey, her sewing needles still, her face pale. Henri Dubois sits apart, his silver cane gleaming, his expression too composed for Poirot's liking. The theater feels like a chessboard, and Poirot is ready to checkmate the killer, to provoke a reaction. Poirot announces he's found proof of Clara's blackmail, holding up the diary without revealing the confession. It's a calculated move, like when he flushed out a smuggler in Lisbon by waving a fake ledger. Evelyn gasps, her hand flying to her ear, while Victor's face reddens, his eyes darting to Dubois. Rupert stops pacing, his fists clenched, and Mrs. Grey drops her sewing basket, needles scattering. Dubois's cane pauses its rhythmic tap, a flicker of unease crossing his face. Poirot's gray cells hum their reactions, confirm the confession's power. But who will break first? He recalls a case in Brussels where a staged reveal caught a thief here. The diary is his bait. Poirot approaches Victor, his tone polite, but piercing. Monsieur Lyle, you poured something into Clara's champagne non. Victor stammers, claiming it was sugar syrup, but his sweaty palms betray him, like a forger Poirot caught in Paris. Before Victor can recover, Mrs. Grey, her voice trembling, blurts, "It wasn't just Victor. I saw him with Dubois, planning it." The auditorium falls silent, all eyes on her. She confesses she overheard Victor and Dubois in the alley, discussing how Clara's blackmail threatened the theater's funding. Dubois promised Victor a promotion if he handled Clara. Poirot nods, his mind racing Mrs. Grey's fear. Has cracked her silence, like a witness in a Vienna case who revealed a murderer under pressure. Dubois rises, his voice icy. "This is nonsense, Monsieur Poirot. I'm a businessman, not a killer." But his cane trembles slightly at tell Poirot. Notes, like a gambler's twitch in Monte Carlo. Poirot turns to Evelyn, mentioning her earring again. She snaps, "I told you, it fell during a fitting." But her eyes flicker to Victor, revealing a connection. Poirot presses Rupert, asking about his role as Clara's confidant. Rupert's voice breaks, admitting he knew about the confession, but urged Clara to hide it, fearing Dubois's wrath. "I loved her," he says, tears welling. Poirot's heart softens. But he recalls a London case where a lover's tears hid complicity. Rupert's not clear yet to unravel the alliance. Poirot revisits the diary in Clara's dressing room with Japp's permission. The final pages, overlooked before, mention a silent partner who helped Dubois frame Clara in Paris. The partner's initials, VL, point to Victor Lyle. Poirot's pulse quickens. This is the final secret, linking Victor to Dubois beyond the murder. He recalls a case in Ostend where initials in a ledger exposed a conspiracy. Here Victor's role is clear. The diary also mentions a second earring, hidden in Clara's costume trunk, suggesting Evelyn was more involved than she admits. Poirot searches the trunk, finding the matching pearl earring, its clasp bent as if torn off in a struggle. This confirms Evelyn was in the dressing room during a heated moment, perhaps with Clara or Victor. Back in the auditorium, Poirot stages a confrontation. He gathers the suspects, holding up the second earring. "This Mies Amos was found with Clara's secrets," he says, his voice steady. Evelyn collapses into a chair, sobbing. "I fought with her," she confesses. "Wanted her role, and she laughed at me. I grabbed her costume, and my earring tore off. But I didn't poison her." Her tears seem genuine, but Poirot notes her glance at Victor, like a conspirator in a Calais case who betrayed her partner. Victor, cornered, shouts, "It was Dubois. He ordered me to do it." Dubois laughs coldly, denying everything, but his cane's tremor grows. Poirot's trap is working. The alliance between Victor and Dubois is cracking. Poirot's brilliance is like a conductor's, bringing discord into harmony. The diary's initials and the second ear. The Grand Lyceum Theatre, its stage once alive with Clara Vayne's brilliance, now harbors a deadly secret that Hercule Poirot is poised to unveil. Victor Lyle's arrest for poisoning Clara's champagne, driven by Henri Dubois's orders, has shaken the cast, but Poirot knows Dubois, with his cyanide vial and calm facade, is the true orchestrator. The diary's revelation of Victor as Dubois's silent partner in the Paris scandal. Evelyn Marsh's jealous struggle with Clara and Rupert Kane's conflicted loyalty paint a complex picture. Mrs. Agnes Grey's testimony about Victor and Dubois's alleyway plot, combined with the second pearl earring found in Clara's trunk, points to a conspiracy to silence Clara's blackmail. The stagehand's confession, safely in Poirot's pocket, ties Dubois to Clara's past. But direct evidence of his role in the murder remains elusive. In Chapter 9, a desperate act backstage forces a final confession, and Poirot unmasks the killer in a dramatic showdown. Let's follow him through the Lyceum's final act, where truth takes center stage. The theater is hushed as evening settles, the auditorium's lights casting eerie shadows. Poirot, his mustache twitching, gathers the remaining suspects: Evelyn, Rupert, Mrs. Grey, and Dubois, the props room, with Inspector Japp and Captain Hastings at his side. Victor's arrest has left the group rattled. Poirot knows the killer's accomplice, or the killer himself, is still free. He holds up the second pearl earring, its clasp bent, and announces, "This Mies Amos tells a story of struggle and betrayal." His voice is calm, but his eyes are sharp, like when he cornered a smuggler in Bruges with a single clue. Evelyn's hands tremble. Rupert's jaw tightens. Mrs. Grey gasps, and Dubois's cane stops its tap. Poirot's grey cells hump the killer is in this room, and the earring is his spark to tighten the net. Poirot revisits the props room, where Rupert's trunk and Clara's costume trunk stand. He examines the costume trunk again, noticing a faint scratch on its lock. Matching the diaries, he suspects the killer used a similar key to hide evidence. With Japp's permission, he opens the trunk fully, revealing a hidden compartment. Inside is a small vial, empty but smelling faintly of almond cyanide. Poirot's heart races. This links the trunk to the murder. He recalls a case in Lisbon where a hidden vial exposed a poisoner here. The vial points to someone with access to Clara's costumes. Mrs. Grey, as wardrobe mistress, is a candidate. But Evelyn's earring and presence in the dressing room make her suspect too. Poirot gathers the group on the stage, the crimson curtains framing a dramatic scene. He holds up the vial, saying, "This held the poison that killed Mademoiselle Vayne. Who placed it here?" Evelyn sobs, insisting she only fought with Clara, not poisoned her. Rupert, his voice hoarse, says he never touched the trunk, his love. For Clara genuine. Mrs. Grey, her face crumpling, admits she saw the vial in the trunk days ago, but said nothing, fearing for her job. Poirot's eyes shift to Dubois, who laughs coldly. "You have no proof, Monsieur Poirot." But his cane's tremor betrays him. It's like a forger's in a Paris case who cracked under scrutiny. Poirot decides to push harder. A tactic that worked in a Vienna case where a staged confrontation forced a confession. He reveals the stagehands. Confession, reading aloud Pierre Leclerc's account of Dubois framing Clara. "You, Monsieur Dubois, ordered Victor to silence her non. Dubois's face hardens, but he denies it, claiming Victor acted alone. Poirot then mentions the diaries. Silent partner VL Victor Lyle. Evelyn, breaking, shouts, "Victor told me Dubois paid him. I heard them in the alley." Her confession spills like a dam breaking, revealing she overheard Victor and Dubois plotting to poison Clara to protect the Paris secret. She stayed silent, hoping to take Clara's role. Poirot nods, her words mirroring a witness in a Calais case who confessed to save herself. Suddenly, a prop sword clatters to the stage. Mrs. Grey, her hands shaking, admits she helped Victor hide the vial. "Thinking it was a prop, I didn't know it was poison," she cries. Poirot's heart softens. She's a pawn like a maid in a London case who hid evidence out of fear. But Dubois's calm snaps. The Grand Lyceum Theatre, its velvet curtains and gilded chandeliers, now silent witnesses to a resolved tragedy, stands as the stage where Hercule Poirot has unraveled Clara Vayne's murder. Henri Dubois, the cunning theatre magnate, has been unmasked as the mastermind, orchestrating the cyanide poisoning through his pawn. Victor Lyle, to silence Clara's blackmail over a Paris scandal. The stagehand's confession, the diary's revelations, the pearl earrings, and the hidden vial in Clara's costume trunk exposed a web of deceit involving Evelyn Marsh's jealousy, Rupert Kane's conflicted love, and Mrs. Agnes Grey's fearful silence. Victor's arrest and Dubois's desperate confession in the auditorium have brought justice, but Poirot's little grey cells remain restless. Clara's cryptic note to him, "I fear for my life," hints at a deeper purpose. In this final chapter, Poirot reveals a hidden twist in Clara's note, tying up the mystery's last thread and cementing his triumph. Let's take our seats for the final act, where Poirot takes his bow and the truth shines under the spotlight. The theater's auditorium is bathed in soft morning light, the tension of the past days replaced by a weary calm. Inspector Japp, his notebook full, oversees the final statements from the cast and crew, while Captain Hastings, ever enthusiastic, marvels at Poirot's brilliance. Poirot, his suit as pristine as ever, stands near the stage, the diary and stagehand's confession. Safely with Japp, the suspects Evelyn Marsh, Rupert Kane, and Mrs. Agnes Grey are gathered. Their faces a mix of relief and guilt. Dubois and Victor are in custody, their roles in Clara's death confirmed by the cyanide vial, red sealed letter, and Mrs. Grey's testimony. Yet Poirot's mustache twitches, a sign his grey cells are still at work. Clara's note to him, delivered before the fatal performance, holds a final secret, and he's determined to uncover it. Poirot begins by revisiting Clara's dressing room, now empty of its chaos. He sits at her vanity, where the spilled champagne glass once held cyanide, and re-examines her note. "Monsieur Poirot, I fear for my life. Meet me after the show." The handwriting is elegant, but Poirot notices a faint indentation on the paper, invisible under normal light. He recalls a case in Brussels where a hidden message in a letter exposed a smuggler. Using a pencil, he lightly shades the note, revealing a coded line. "Look to the Crimson Veil." His heart quickens. The note points to Clara's final performance in the Crimson Veil, the play itself a clue. Poirot suspects Clara embedded a message in her role, perhaps a warning or a final act of defiance against Dubois. He gathers the group in the auditorium, his voice calm but commanding. "Peace. Miss Mademoiselle Vayne left a final message. Hidden in her art," he announces, holding up the note. Evelyn, her single earring glinting, looks puzzled, while Rupert's eyes well with tears, his love for Clara still raw. Mrs. Grey clutches her sewing, her fear eased but her guilt lingering. Poirot explains that the Crimson Veil, a tale of love and betrayal, was Clara's stage to reveal her truth. He requests a script from the stage manager, who provides a worn copy marked with Clara's notes. In the margins of her final scene, where her character unveils a traitor, Clara wrote, "HD betrays all. HD Henri Dubois." Poirot's grey cells hum. This was Clara's insurance, a public hint at Dubois's crimes, hidden in her performance. 2. Confirmed. Poirot visits the theater's projection booth, where a recording of Clara's last show is stored. With Japp and Hastings, he watches the footage, focusing on her final monologue. Clara's voice, passionate and trembling, delivers lines about a shadowy figure who ruins lives for gold. Her eyes, Poirot notices, linger on the box where Dubois sat that night. A subtle accusation. The audience applauded, unaware. Of her coded plea, Poirot recalls a case in Vienna where an actress used her performance to expose a thief. Clara, too, used her stage to point at Dubois. Her note to Poirot was her backup, ensuring he'd catch the clue if she died. Poirot returns to the auditorium, confronting the group with the script's margin notes and the recording. Clara Vayne. She was clever, Nan. She named her betrayer in her art, he says, his eyes on Evelyn, Rupert, and Mrs. Grey. Evelyn admits she noticed Clara's intensity that night, but thought it was acting. Rupert, his voice breaking, says, Clara told him she'd make Dubois pay on stage, but he didn't understand Mrs. Grey. Tears streaming, confesses she helped Clara annotate the script, knowing it was a risk. She was so brave, Mrs. Grey whispers, her needle still, her guilt laid bare. Poirot nods, his heart softening. She's like a maid in a London case who aided a victim out of loyalty. To tie the final thread, Poirot meets Jap at Scotland Yard, where Dubois is being questioned. The magnate, his composure gone, glares at Poirot. You have no proof I touched the poison, he snarls. Poirot smiles, producing the stagehand's confession in Clara's script. Your orders to Victor, Monsieur Dubois, and Clara's accusations seal your fate, he says. Jap confirms the cyanide vials purchased traces to Dubois's Paris contacts, and Victor's testimony implicates him as the planner. The script's notes and recording, though not legal evidence, sway the case, proving Dubois's motive to silence Clara's blackmail. Poirot recalls a case in Ostend, where a single letter convicted a mastermind here. Clara's performance is the letter. Poirot's brilliance is like a composer's final chord, resolving the discord. The crimson veil clue, hidden in Clara's note and performance, exposed Dubois's betrayal, while the vial, earrings, and confessions tied the suspects together. If you're solving a mystery, try Poirot's method. Look for hidden messages, like a coded note or a scripted line, and let the guilty betray themselves. A tearful confession, a trembling hand, or a marked script like Mrs. Grey's or Clara's reveals the truth. Evelyn's jealousy, Rupert's love, and Mrs. Grey's silence were threads. But Dubois's ambition wove the deadly tapestry. As the theater prepares to reopen, Poirot visits Clara's dressing room one last time. He places a single rose on, her vanity, a tribute to her courage. Rupert, cleared but heartbroken, plans to leave London while Evelyn quits acting. Her ambition shattered, Mrs. Grey, her testimony given, returns to her sewing, vowing to honor Clara's memory. Jap, impressed, shakes Poirot's hand, and Hastings beams, calling it a cracking case. Poirot, humble, credits his Grey cells, recalling a Paris case where a single clue solved a murder. Clara's justice is served, her fatal secret unveiled. The theater's curtains rise on a new play, but Poirot, his work done, steps into the London fog, ready for the next mystery. Thank you for joining Hercule Poirot on this thrilling chase. Drop a comment. Did Clara's crimson veil surprise you? Like and subscribe for more mysteries where Poirot's little gray cells shine. Until next time, keep your eyes sharp and your mind sharper.